Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be how to stay motivated when life feels hopeless. Well, I've got an email. This is from he's a 28-year-old guy who's in Europe. He says he's been following my work since 2017. And he says he read 3% Man the first time around back in 2017, the full 15 times. And then right before the lockdowns, in 2020, so he had about 3 years of applying and learning what was in my book and getting results. So right before the lockdowns in 2020, he met his dream woman. And so he says that what happened was he got lazy, he got complacent, he stopped making her feel heard and understood, he started arguing with her. He says he basically completely forgot everything he learned in the book. And then eventually she dipped out and left and got together with some other dude. He says she left him for another guy. Remember, I say this all the time. I've been saying it pretty much since I started doing this. If you don't date and court your girlfriend or your wife, eventually some other guy will. And that's just a fact of life. You gotta, two biggest things that when I do phone sessions with guys in long-term relationships is they either stop dating and courting their girl, or they don't make her feel heard and understood. And when a woman feels heard and understood, the legs open, and when she doesn't, the legs close. And so he's not doing the two most important things that it takes to maintain a relationship. Because what you do to get her is what you do to keep her. And a lot of guys will court a woman, but once they're in a relationship, they stop. They stop doing that. They think, hey, I got her. I don't have to do this stuff anymore. Women want to be in a love story. And if you stop the love story, eventually they're going to recognize that if you really cared, you'd be showing them through your actions. And guys that don't eventually learn the hard way like this guy did. And so his problem is it's now been a year. So he got into drinking a bunch. He got into doing drugs a bunch. He was depressed. He's just stayed in bed and slept all day. He says now he says he slept with 7 different women since the breakup, and he doesn't feel anything for any of them, and he's starting to lose hope. He's all of 28 years old. And so he brings up a lot of good points here, because quite frankly, if you're a guy, I mean really if you're a human being, the older you get and the more you go through life, the more you recognize is that there's a lot of challenges that are going to come during the seasons of your life. And depending on when you grow up, because like when you're young, you don't know what you don't know. You get into your 20s, and if you get into your 20s and when the economic cycle is in the boom cycle, it all your reality is that, hey, things are going well. And then when you go through a bust cycle where the economy crashes, where it's hard to get a job, where unemployment's high. Like now we got inflation's high across the board because of all the ridiculous things that have happened over the last several years. And so you've got hard times. And if you grew up during good times, you never really been through any hard times. You might have been through them before, but you were a little kid and you didn't know any better. But me being 52, you kind of see the boom and bust cycle. It takes about 12 to 15 years to go through a cycle. And we just had a huge boom cycle for the last 6-8 years. Now we're going to go through a bust cycle. And people get stressed out. In this case, he stopped dating and courting his girl properly. She leaves, goes and gets with another guy. And then your whole identity is wrapped up in that relationship. Especially, he was like, this is my dream girl. So it was the best he had ever had. But he got lazy, he got complacent. He didn't maintain it. He didn't do the little things. Love is about giving. The purpose of all relationships is you go there to give. And if you go there to give and you do it in the beginning and then you stop at some point, eventually the woman's going to figure out that you either don't care or you don't know what to do to maintain it, or you don't want to, you're not motivated. And a big part of life is like when you're young, you don't know any better. It's great to have motivation and to have an emotionally compelling vision and mission you want to create for your life. But the reality is all great things take time. Great businesses, great success stories, none of us hear about them until they're 10 or 15 years down the road. When you look at something like a Facebook or an Apple computer or a PayPal or something like Tesla, you don't hear about these. You might hear about them a little bit, but it's usually a minimum of a decade before they really start to do well. And I found this in my own life. But this guy's he's all of 28. So if you take a decade, where was he when he was 18? Well, a lot of things have changed in the last 10 years of his life. And so the reality is, when he's because also I think he said he wants to become an engineer, if I'm not mistaken here. He wants to go back to school, but he's losing a mechanical engineer. He's losing his motivation. And the reality is it takes a lot of years. Typical mechanical engineer, that's usually like a 4-year degree. Maybe you go get a master's, you're 4 to 6 years in school. So you're like your mid-20s by the time you just get done with your school. And then you got to get into the real world and get some experience. It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years of real world experience before you really start to understand the industry. And then you're 30, 31, 32 by the time you kind of feel like, all right, kind of got this. I kind of get what the industry is about. I know how to do my job. I've grown my reserve of knowledge. I've developed my gifts, my skills, my talents. But things take time. And people get impatient. People want everything instant gratification. They become single, or they decide they want to meet their future ex-wife or whatever. It doesn't always happen when you want it to. You start a business, it typically ain't even going to take off and really get going for at least a decade or more. And if most people, if they don't get the success they want in a matter of weeks and a matter of months, they're ready to quit and they're ready to give up. And so, just like the title was saying, it's how do you stay motivated? Because there's going to be a lot more times, especially if you got a big audacious goal, maybe something that's going to take you 15, 20 years. There's going to be a lot of days, there's going to be a lot of weeks, there'll probably be months and periods you're going to go through. You're going to feel like, man, I'm not really making much progress. And then what happens is the success, feeling like you're successful and feeling happy is a result of feeling like you're making progress. And a lot of the time, like when I look back, for those of you that have read Mastering Yourself, and that's one of the things this guy needs to do. He needs to read Mastering Yourself to understand how life works, how the banking and financial system works, how the economy works, what it takes to motivate yourself day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. Like for me, when I started this business, I figured in a year or two, I'll be right back making multiple six figures like I was when I was in real estate. And then 4 years later, I'm sleeping on my dad's couch, waiting tables for 10 months at a sports bar at 39, 40 years old. It's like, that wasn't part of my plan. I didn't expect to do that. I was willing to do that. I was willing to suffer because I believed at some point, someday, some way, somehow, I was going to figure out the right way to package up what I had to offer in a way that enough people could see the value in it that I could earn a really good living off of it. But there was a lot of years of struggle, a lot of years. And it's like, what do you do when you're 3, 4 years in and it's like you still don't feel like you're any closer to succeeding or getting the things that you want? It's like Ray Lewis has a quote that I always liked. He says, grinding is my rest. And so you have to grind. It's like there are things that you have to do every day, day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. And those got to get done every day, no matter what. It doesn't matter how you feel. Because really, it's all about discipline. Like Jocko Willink says, discipline equals freedom. Well, if you notice, if you're going to his Instagram, it's like constantly every day, 4:30 a.m. Hey, I'm getting after it. I'm at the gym. I'm working out. Here's a picture in black and white of my watch. I'm here getting after it, being disciplined. And it's through disciplining yourself day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year, that you build up your body, that you get in shape, or that you lose weight, or you take a business from an idea to where it becomes very successful or a multi-million-dollar business. It's not something that happens overnight. There's an old saying, it's like, hey, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success. And so you got to recognize that great things take time and they never happen. I can't, when I think back on my life, most everything that I've accomplished or achieved, it never happened when I expected it to. It was long in coming. And when I look back, I was always grateful that things worked out, but it's like, man, the amount of time to make something happen, it's like you just have to understand that's part of life. And so you have to learn How do you get through your days? Like when you don't feel motivated, how do you get through a day and take action when you're like, man, I've been at this for 5 years or 6 years or 4 years, or I've been working this crappy job for 2 years and it doesn't seem like anything's going to change for me. Or it's been 2 years since I broke up with my girlfriend and I've met one girl that I really liked. Like in this guy's case, it's a year. And he's like, when's the next great love going to come around? And then you're going to look back and say, I haven't found anything as good as what I had in the past. Is this it for me? Is this my lot in life? And so you're going to have to deal with thoughts like that. Everybody has to deal with that. The question is, what are you going to do? And for me, every day, I think, what do I have to get done today before I go to sleep? That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter how you feel, because you're going to have days where you feel good, you're going to be happy, things are going to be great, and then there are going to be other days where shit's just going to go sideways and it's going to seem like everything goes sideways all at once. And that's the way it is. You just got to plow through it. What has to get done right now? Focus on getting in the moment, because inaction breeds fear and doubt. Taking action breeds confidence and courage. And I know exactly how this guy feels, because I felt this way thousands of times in my life. When you think about it, there's 365 days in a year. I've had thousands of days in my life that just felt like they sucked ass and I was never making any progress. So everybody's got to deal with it. And the reality is, nobody cares about your problems. Nobody cares about my problems. And they're glad that we have them. And the people that you're typically so worried about what they think about you, quite frankly, they got their own problems to worry about. They're really not thinking about you or worried about you that much. That's why you got to put your head down and plow forward. So let's go through his email. He says, hi, Coach. I've been following you since 2017. And I read your book over 15 times back then, and I got my dream girl right before COVID in 2020, but I got complacent, and of course I lost her to another guy. Well, pain is life's change agent. It's life's way of saying, hey, what you're doing, your approach ain't working. And this will happen with 100% of the women that you get into a relationship with. If you get into a relationship with a girl and you stop dating and courting her, and you stop making her feel heard and understood, it's just a matter of time before she breaks it off or makes you so miserable you dump her. That's just reality. If you're going to be in a relationship, you're going there to give, and the giving can't stop. It doesn't matter if you're not having a good day or you're going through a rough patch. It doesn't matter. You got to make the effort. If you got kids, you can't go, I don't feel like being a dad for the next 6 months. So you guys are on your own. Get yourself ready, do your own clothes, and get yourself to school or find a way to school. You can't do that. Every day you got responsibilities. You got things you got to take care of. If you're going to get into a relationship with a woman, you can't lay around and be a lazy ass, because eventually she's going to get tired of it. She hopped on your fun bus because she wanted to follow your lead. And if you stop being the leader, she'll take the reins for a little while, but eventually she'll become sick and disgusted with it because it's not natural, and she'll leave. So that's reality. He says, I didn't make her feel heard and understood, and I argued with her. He says, I never begged her to stay, but I told her to call me when she changes her mind. I forgot everything I learned from your book. Like, and you're suffering the consequences. All I can do is put the information out there and teach you, but if you make a conscious choice to just stop doing what's necessary, then that's on you. You chose to not be disciplined. That's what happened. Discipline equals freedom, and you were not disciplined enough to maintain your relationship, and now you're experiencing tremendous pain. And that's how life says, hey, you can't live like this. The way you're living doesn't work. You got to change your approach. He says, now, 1 year after the breakup, I still think about her. In the beginning, I was a total mess for many months, and I had a hard time coping with my feelings. Lots of drinking and doing drugs, feeling very depressed, and sleeping all day. He says, I started reading your book again to start to get some motivation, but now I feel the motivation is starting to fade. Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, and I wrote about in Mastering Yourself. When I was still on the path, still trying to figure out my business model for what I'm doing now, I mean, it had taken, I was really excited and pumped up and motivated for the first few years, but when you're 4 years down the road, and I'd spent pretty much most of the money that I had either paying my bills and living, because I really didn't have an income. I had some, but I was spending my expenses were exceeding my revenues. And you can only do that for so long. I mean, I had enough money to basically go 4 years to pay all my bills and on top of that, to spend money experimenting. So I was burning the candle financially at both ends. And so I still remember this to this day, when you'd walk through the double doors in the sports bar where I was working. I remember I was like 3 or 4 months in, and I was just thinking, man, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do to get this business to finally take off. And so there was this little sink that we would wash our hands, and then I remember about on the opposite the little sink, this is inside the kitchen. You walk in the kitchen to the left, you got like this where all the dressings and stuff are and the sauces. And across from that, you got this little sink where you wash your hands and stuff. And then above it, I remember, was all the compressors for the soda lines and the beer lines and all that stuff. And I remember washing my hands and just kind of looking up at the ceiling and just going, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to get out of here? I cannot believe, after all the success I've had in my life, I'm here waiting tables at 39 years old. And this is the last place I want to be. My feet hurt. My legs hurt. I think it was like an 8 hour shift, I think, at that point. And you're just constantly running around. And this, I had done that. That was great when I was 20, 21 years old. But here I am 39 years old and spent the last 20 years basically working in an office, nice clothes, just enjoying a good life, nice cushy office. Now I'm running around like a maniac with a bunch of 22, 23-year-olds and just like looking up at I remember it was like there was a plywood shelf, and it's like I remember the grain. I remember the grain in the plywood. Just thinking, what the hell am I gonna do? This is horrible. I can't believe I'm here. I remember I kept saying, I can't believe that after 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm waiting tables, and I don't want to be in this place. And I'm like, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was like out of ideas, because I felt like I had tried everything. And then like when you get in those situations, it's like you become more, I say, flexible and more open to trying new things. Because a big part of what I needed to do was to let go of all the success and what worked when I was in the real estate and the mortgage industry. Because my success that I had with television advertising and Yellow Page advertising, that type of advertising was just not going to work for what I was doing. And then that led to a series of events and changes where I just started doing articles because I was like, man, I think at that time I was 39, so my book was like almost closing in on being out for 4 years. And I was saying there's other things I want to talk about just besides dating and relationship stuff. And so that's when I started blogging and writing articles and doing those several days a week. And then I started getting more traffic from Google search. And then a year or two later, I think in 2011, 2012, I started doing YouTube videos, and that made things move a little bit more, but it was slow, and it took several years. And it wasn't until 2013 that I moved back to Orlando, and it's like I never expected it to take that long. And so when I look at the time I started in 2006 to where I was so that's like 7 years from the idea to where I was finally able to support myself and have a nice, comfortable living doing what I'm doing now. And then everything that's come since then has just continued to build upon that. And so now I'm like in year, 16 that I've been doing this? And it's like, that's a long time. And so there's a lot of days of not feeling excited. There's a lot of days not feeling like things were going to work out. But I kept grinding. I kept pushing forward. It's like the motivation and the enthusiasm was gone. All I had was the grind. All I had was, what do I got to get done today? And because inaction breeds fear and doubt. Taking action breeds confidence and courage. And so I always kept myself busy taking action. Because when I sat around, then I would worry about where I was. Oh, I'm getting older. Things are taking forever. It's like I'm never going to get to where I want to be in life. I'm not going to accomplish things I want to accomplish. This is taking too long. And you got to grind. You just have to take the action that you know you need to take every day. So back to our email. He says, I felt a little bit hopeless when I do start to miss her. I read your book 10 times again this past year. Every girl I'm meeting doesn't stimulate my eyes the same way she did. Well, as I talked a lot in many videos, I talk about 3% Man, I've found that you really connect on a soul level with, depending on your life path, 1 to 3 women per decade. And so there's lots of girls that are beautiful and you can have fun, you can hook up, you have great sex. But somebody you really connect with on a soul level, just like on the same kind of level that you connect with your closest friends, where you just jive together, it's easy, it's effortless, that almost never happens. And that's why we appreciate those relationships so much. But you got to get to a place where you're happy with your life. You're happy where you are. That's the most important thing. Because if you don't like your life and your lifestyle and you're not excited about it, you're not going to get a girl excited about it either. And so that's why you need to focus on yourself and getting back to a place where you love yourself, you love your life, you love your hobbies, your interests, you're working, you're grinding, and you're trying to find a way to enjoy your life every day where you're at. Because if you can get to a place where you enjoy your own company, then you'll be good company. But feeling the way this guy's feeling, it's like he needs to focus on taking care of the little things that he can take care of to make his life better, so he gets to a point where he's proud of his life, and he's proud of the progress, and he's proud of his goals and his dreams and where he's going. A woman doesn't want to hear that 28 years old, you're ready to give up and quit. And quite frankly, it's around this age that most people give up on their dreams because, like, oh, it hasn't happened yet. Well, I guess got to settle. I got to be realistic. And so you're in that age where this is where we separate the men from the boys. The men just keep plowing along. Yeah, you might feel like shit, but so what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your problems. It's like you got to find a way to grind. He says, if I'm walking in the city, I rarely see somebody that catches my eye, and that makes me miss her even more. I've been sleeping with 7 people since the breakup, but it doesn't give me anything. Well, if you're not enjoying being with them, then don't be sleeping with people that you don't fucking care about. I miss the connection and sex I had. How can I attract the kind of women I feel I deserve? I don't see those women anywhere. It's not about finding them. It's about becoming the kind of guy that would easily attract those women in your life. You got to create a life and lifestyle where the kind of woman you want would love to be a part of it. And quite frankly, everything you've described here, the way you're thinking, the way you're feeling, you're not in a place right now in the present moment where a woman's going to be excited to be part of that. Because if you're not excited about your life, you're not going to be able to get a woman excited about it. If you're excited and you're stoked about where you're going, and she asks you about your mission and purpose and where you're going, your enthusiasm will come out. She'll be excited to talk to you. She'll be excited to hear it. She'll want to participate in that. I feel like I want to give up and don't date or do anything else and then focus on school to become a mechanical engineer and also go to the gym to become in the best shape of my life and become a firefighter. I feel like I've become more hopeless when I don't find people I really feel attraction for. So what's happening is you're impatient. And who was it? Michelangelo. He said, genius is eternal patience. And so what's happening is you're impatient that you don't have the success you want right now. And so because of that, you're like, okay, well, I should just give up. Well, then you're going to be miserable. Do you want to go through the rest of your life going, I'm never going to achieve the things I want? That's even more demotivating. That's why people become morbidly obese. That's why people settle and marry somebody they don't really care for. And then because they don't care for the person they're with, they're terrible parents because they're not happy with the person they're with. And then the kids see that, and then the kids go out, grow up, and then they go and they just become the same kind of mediocre type of people that also don't achieve their goals and their dreams. He says, I would love to get some clarity and advice from you. I'm a 28-year-old guy from Europe. Well, I would definitely say you need to read Mastering Yourself. And something that also help would be the quotes. This is volume 2. This is volume 1, the black one here. These are out. They can really help you with the concepts that are in my book. But you need to focus on your mission and your purpose in life, going to the gym, being disciplined, and also focus on creating a life and lifestyle when you're not working of doing fun things with fun, like-minded people. Because when you're doing things with like-minded people that make you happy, you're going to smile more. You're going to laugh more. You're going to be more outgoing. You're going to be more attractive. And women are going to notice that. And that's what you want. You want a woman to be excited to be around you. And right now, the dude that wrote this email is not very excited or proud about his life. And so that needs to be your priority. How can I get to a place? What do I need to do today to fall in love with myself and fall in love with my life? What kind of fun things can I do with fun people? Where can I go and meet other like-minded people that like to do the same things? Lose yourself in your hobbies and your interests and the things that are exciting and compelling to you. That's what I would do if I were you. 28 years old, it's like, dude, it's like most guys don't really like I remember when I got into my mid 30s, it's like your early to mid 30s are some of the best years of your life. And especially if you're going to go to college and become an engineer, by the time you're 32, 33, you should get to the point where you're done with college and you finally become the mechanical engineer. But it's like I remember college sucked. I hated every freaking day of it. And lots of math, lots of physics, lots of science, lots of homework. Didn't enjoy it, but I had to do it in order to get the degree. And so even then, that's why it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree. I would take semesters off because I would just have times where I didn't feel like taking classes. I wanted to work, I wanted to have some fun. It took 7 years, but hey, I turned out okay. And so you got to cut yourself a break. Focus on what you can control, the controllables, as I say, in mastering yourself, and take action. Day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. And you got to recognize you're going to have lots of days. You got thousands of days ahead of you in your life that are going to probably suck and you're not going to be too excited. That's par for the course. Over the course of your whole entire life, you've got thousands of days ahead of you that are like probably going to suck. Probably at the end of the day, you're like, well, I wish it would have gone differently. I wish that wouldn't have happened. I wish that meeting would have gone better. I wish that client would have bought from me or whatever it happens to be. I wish I'd have gotten that job. I wish I'd gotten that raise. I wish I'd gotten that promotion. I wish that girl would have said yes to me or whatever. It's going to happen. You got to get used to rejection. You got to get used to things not working out because that's what a man does. And if you want a woman to follow you and submit to you and allow you to lead her, then no matter what you're feeling, you got to be disciplined. You got to grind it out. Like Jocko says, discipline equals freedom. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.